Hi everyone, welcome to the Whiteleyverse with me, Connor Whiteley, for another daily story with a chapter from one of my novellas. Before I start today's chapter, please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithm. Also, if you want to buy this book and any of my other fiction, then they're all available from all major ebook retailers. You can order the paperback and hardback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore and local library if you requested. Also, if you want the AI generated audiobook, then you can get it from selected audiobook platforms and library systems like Kobo, Spotify, Barnes & Noble, Google Play, Baker & Taylor, Biblioteca and Overdrive. Now, here's today's chapter. I hope you enjoyed as much as I did writing it.
Chapter 1. Normally, when it comes to exploring historical events, historians are always taught to start at the beginning, but there are so many conspiracy theories, pieces of misinformation and lies surrounding the Crux War that it was next to impossible to find a beginning, but I have found it. And that is where the Crux War starts, and a young woman's life is changed forever. Now a lot of people and scholars believe that Catherine Roman was a noblewoman, the daughter of someone rich and powerful, or she had a boyfriend in the Empire Secret Service. Looking back at these lies, I have to admit that I can understand where they're coming from. They are all reasonable to presume, and they are all utterly wrong. Catherine Roman grew up in the Crux system, and she always lived on Crux Prima. She was the daughter of a con woman, and her father died when she was 2 years old. So she didn't exactly have a lot growing up, and she actually lived in one of the Prima's many slums. A lot of people are shocked at this, but it's true, and she went to school as much as she could, focusing on science, maths and Empire tongue. Of course, she wasn't very good at any of these except psychology and chemistry. A lot of experts over the years have tried to explain why Catherine was good at these particular subjects, and not others. Some proposed a form of dyslexia, others proposed she was just dumb, a complete and utter lie, and others simply didn't dare to comment on a sitting member of the Emperor's Council on Earth. I believe the latter are the smartest people. Everything started to change in Catherine's late 20s, when she was a guest at the home of a diplomat. The female diplomat had been sent from Earth for an unknown purpose, but given how the talk of succession and political infighting dominated the news of the Crux system at the time, it is reasonable to assume that the diplomat wanted to tell the dying planetary governor to make sure her will was fixed before she died. Of course that never happened, because the planetary governor had died 6 hours ago. Catherine always described the party and being there as a guest as one of the most defining moments of her life, because she hated it with a passion. She had always loved the stunning bright golden walls, smooth art on the walls, showing the best features of the galaxy, and the brown wooden chairs were wonderful when compared to her own flat. The people at the party were very kind, posh and snobbish. Catherine made notes in her diary later that night about how awful the women looked in their black silk dresses, by describing them as black eagles that looked like they wanted to strike down their prey, but they were too constricted to do anything except painfully walk around. Thankfully, as a single woman, Catherine didn't need to wear such a costume. Equally, she did mention how hot the men looked in their crisp white Empire Army uniforms. Because that was the real reason for the party. In amongst the fresh smells of rosemary, thyme and juicy roasted slices of pork, Catherine joined in many conversations about who was going to be the next ruler of the entire system. The Crux system was always weird because the planetary governor of Crux Prima ruled all 8 worlds instead of only the one. Catherine met and chatted and even kissed most of the men through the night, but she wasn't stupid. She was the personal guest of a Lord Admiral Collins, who was technically in line but had withdrawn because he knew what was coming. He believed a war was about to happen in the Crux system. Catherine had laughed at him multiple times throughout the evening, whenever he suggested it, because she couldn't imagine someone actually having the balls to attack the Empire. But as the night went on, and she heard groups of loyal soldiers and commanders plotting away, she believed it. Catherine later wrote in her memoirs that she had never been more scared for her children than what she heard that night. The historical records, Catherine's own diary, and even the later traitors convicted of their crimes never revealed exactly what was said that night. However, if we take a step back for a moment and focus on the context, then there are a few simple guesses, since similar conversations in other threats of war have been recovered. The most likely conversation overheard was how the loyal commanders, generals and soldiers were going to install the Lord Commander of the Crux system as the leader. And if anyone opposed the Lord Commander, then they would die. And given how violent the Lord Commander was, I can just about imagine how scary that realization would have been. The second most likely is she overheard members of the Planetary Senate creating some kind of plot of their own. This most probably wasn't to establish a democracy or to create an autocracy, but anything is possible. And the final option is that Catherine overall heard someone wanting to contact the traitors to see if they would help. Of course, contacting the superhuman traitors of the Angels of Death and Hope would be a very extreme measure. Those foul beasts want to enslave humanity, kill the Emperor and annihilate the Empire. That's why this would have been so terrifying to Catherine, and it was even more scary when we consider that these loyal Empire Army people were willing to say such a thing in this company. Normally a soldier would be tortured for saying such a thing, but this person felt safe enough at the party to say it. That should have spoken volumes about what was going on behind closed doors in the political war rooms of Crux. So Catherine did the only thing she knew. She went to her best friend Lord Admiral Collins, informed him of the situation, and they started talking about resistance, spy networks and making sure that Crux remained in Empire hands. Catherine was outraged at first that he was suggesting they needed to spy on their closest friends, allies and peers, but she was eventually persuaded. Originally they were going to meet the next day in his office to plot this out fully, but then arbiters stormed into the party and arrested Collins, all the senators of the planet, and even some of the Empire soldiers. All of their bodies were found the next morning with letters carved into their chests, and they were arranged in a certain pattern that told Catherine exactly what she needed to do. This world ain't Empire no more. Let the loyalists burn.
Welcome back everyone, it's me again, Connor Whiteley. So I really hope that you enjoyed today's story, because I flat out love writing, creating stories and sharing them with you. If you really enjoyed today's story, then please remember to like, comment and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new content, and the internet engagement really helps the Whiteleyverse with the YouTube algorithms. And if you want to buy this short story or any of my other fiction, then they're available from all major ebook retailers, and you can get them from your local library if you requested, and you can order the paperback copies from Amazon, your local bookstore or local library if you request it. Lastly, if you want to support the channel on a one-off basis, then you can now buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/Connor Whiteley. Also, if you know anyone who would enjoy today's story, then please share it with them. I'm always really grateful when you wonderful people help spread the word about the channel. So, thanks for watching the Whiteleyverse, and I'll see you again soon. Have a great day, everyone.